Here we go. Hey team, how we going? It is Kaz and Lauren and the conspiracy theorists and you guys all there in slips waiting to make an expert opinion on exactly what we don't really know and we'll never will. This is an Epstein moment right now. Before we go into who is Halyna Hutchins, because that's the real question. Is there smoke? Is there fire?
Yep.
Is there rust on the bucket, Delilah?
Yeah, exactly. Or we all just too excited about it.
Karma bites twice, doesn't it? Before we start, Lauren, I think we should really give some attention to Dave Penson, who sometime in his life had clearly been on the blue pill, done his job. There's children being born everywhere, more than Genghis Khan, and now he's fled to Vietnam just to get away from buying them presents.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, Papa David.
Can we get some thumbs up for Dave Penson, who is, again, a grandfather? Well done, Papa Smurf.
Yeah, good size too, over 8 pounds.
That's a thick boy.
Yeah, that's a good size. Yeah.
What do you reckon is coming out of Alec Baldwin's mouth? What was his lunch that's coming up on the gutter? Maybe it was Mum Spaghetti, as Eminem has now opened his own pasta house called Mum Spaghetti.
Yeah, I saw that.
He says you have to eat it the way he tells you how to eat it. You go, mate, aren't you about rebelling?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll eat it with a spoon just to watch him go off his tits.
Yeah.
He's pretty fly for a white boy. Anyway, g'day guys, how we all going? If you want to have your say over there in chat, all you simply need to do is subscribe to the channel. Not the best channel on YouTube, but it's a channel.
I think it's the best channel.
Maybe it's got the best hostette, which is you, but not so much me. This is my bit of Hollywood, which makes me an expert on talking about Hollywood tonight.
It does. And we have a great community.
We do. It is a great community. And we're far enough apart, we don't get to touch each other with glee, which means we don't overstay our welcome.
That's true.
Mr. Patterson must be almost ready for bed. Kaz got the scruffy look. Mate,
Yep.
I had to shave every single day for 24 years, so now I'm trying to look like a Sydney lesbian. There you go. There you go. The thumbs up for Ivan Milat and also for Dave Penson in Vietnam. We've got our awesome directors here that are in the blue in chat, and their job is to make sure that you don't make a mess of and wreck yourself in comments. And we've got the people in green that are the members of the channel, and then we've got those that are in the grey, which a lot of are Patreon members. So there's multi-tiers here. Before we talk about tonight, I would like to bring one thing up, that we are officially, unofficially sponsoring a project which, instead of jumping all over the place with our Patreon, we are now directing it all like a laser beam, an old laser beam, not too powerful, probably couldn't burn the skin. But that's going towards Daz. Daz is a farmer. He's a farmer now. You know, bit down on his luck, busted his shoulder, scaffolding. He's been told you can't do that. His body's told him that, so is the doctor, and he also can't join the military. But with the tip of the hat, he went to Plan B, and now with his best mate, Muddy, he decided to be a cattleman, not just because we need someone else now that Alec Baldwin is not on the farm. So what's occurring is he needs all up 70 cows. We're going to help him get there. You know, in a couple of weeks, Patreon is going to do a marathon stream. Patreon is going to give at least $1,000, but that's not on behalf of Kaz. That is going to name some of the cows as registered names of the cows on Daz's farm. Old MacDonald had a farm.
Yep.
So it's going to be a fantastic thing. Let's help a farmer out. We do it with hay bales in a drought. So let's help a bloke whose time is ticking down, and we'll get back to you with more details and make that more official as the laser beam becomes a little bit hotter than a spark.
Yeah, indeed. Let's do some cows, literally.
That's right. Nutsu cows. We've got Fighting the Turret with Swar here. Good to have you here, Scotty. He's a cavalry tank master, and he was my enemy. Okay, there's Finney Reed. Mate, I hope you're not related to Hannah Reed, Gutierrez Reed, which was the armourer on the set of Rust, this low-budget film, except when paying for the bed that Alec, the fuck-up Baldwin, slept in.
That's fair to say. Hey, I've just got some housekeeping here from Strike W. He says, hey, Kaz, I just had my enlistment ceremony today, and he's heading off to Kapuka tomorrow, and he wanted to thank you for all the videos that helped him get to that point.
So he didn't get to strike 3, strike 1. He's in. Mate, that's fantastic. Can we get some thumbs up for someone about to go on their life adventure and potentially be in the military, the calling of champions for the next 40 years?
Indeed.
You know, if you think of it as a 4-year career, then you just made it a job. Think of it as potential 40 years living on the final frontier, again, minus Alec Baldwin, because he might be spending his time saying, can I at least do some stretches first? So while we're sitting here, team, you know, we've all seen what's going on. I've got the videos here. I'm going to play them for you so you understand what we're talking about. But some of the questions we'd like to ask is, and Lauren went through this, we had quite a heated debate over this, actually, which was good.
But then we realised we were agreeing.
Yeah.
Which happens sometimes.
But it wasn't that agree to agree sort of thing.
No,
you know,
it was actually, we actually were on the same page.
Yeah. So one of the questions is, who is Halyna Hutchins? Because it's very important when someone in Hollywood all of a sudden ends up coming up short, so to speak.
Especially when they're meant to be an expert.
And she sounds like she's a big gun. She sounds like she's excellent. And you know what? Anyone in cinematography are amazing people because they have to have an eye for outside the box. They have to have the energy. These are special, special people, and this is a tragedy. It really is. And she looks so cool in life. She looks like an amazing woman. She had a family, and to her, I really think she is the real victim.
Yeah, she was a high achiever. She seems like a really lovely lady also.
She looks like a skater girl.
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman.
She is, in a really something about Mary kind of way. Things, you know, and she packs a big camera, and she died doing what she loved. And you know what? The best thing, she doesn't even know it happened. She was a ghost before she realised what happened.
Yeah, she was a mum, and you know, so poor little lad.
Yeah, very, very sad. Very, very sad. You know, catastrophic. We've got a few videos for you, but we're not going to harp on necessarily just the one thing, because we've got some good news for you too. But this is going to be the story. I can't hear it for some reason. There's been a Streamlabs update, and for some reason I can't hear it, but I think you can. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go, Kaz.
We're going to start this morning with that breaking news out of New Mexico.
Tell me if you can't hear it.
Alec Baldwin.
Authorities say the actor was filming a new Western movie called Rust when he fired a
3 minutes.
gun. Happened during a scene, hitting 2 members of the crew and killing 1. NBC's Steve Patterson is in Los Angeles with the very latest on this breaking story. Steve, good morning.
Savannah, good morning.
Be a sniper. 1 shot, 2.
To Faye, according to police, Baldwin discharged a prop firearm when something went horribly wrong. Production on the film being halted for now while investigators try to determine what happened.
Here.
In these photos, a distraught Alec Baldwin, reportedly in tears, outside the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office, just hours after the deadly accident on the set of his new movie, Rust. Authorities say Baldwin was filming when he fired a prop gun during a scene, killing 1 crew member and injuring another. Halyna Hutchins, the film's director of photography, was airlifted to an area hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Just days ago, Hutchins posted this video, writing, "One of the perks of shooting a Western is you get to ride horses on your days off." Director Joel Souza was also shot and hospitalized for his injuries. Sheriff's deputies were called to the movie set Thursday afternoon. A spokesperson for Baldwin described the shooting as an accident that involved the misfire of a prop gun with blanks. Detectives are looking at what type of projectile came out of the weapon. No charges have been filed, but authorities say the investigation is open and active. The deadly incident happened at Bonanza Creek Ranch, a location in New Mexico used for filming movies and TV shows. Actor Jeff Mead was working on a different set nearby.
Sheriffs came down, sit on another set. There was a live gun discharge.
Fatal accidents involving prop weapons have happened before. The most high-profile in 1993. Actor Brandon Lee, the son of icon Bruce Lee, died during filming on The Crow after he was shot with a prop gun. The incident was considered accidental. Hollywood weapons expert Larry Zanoff says since that time, the industry has put strict new protocols in place.
Well, the questions that I would always ask is, were the safety guidelines of our industry followed? Blanks are not designed to do what the final outcome of this was. We need to investigate and find out what went wrong.
Baldwin is not only the star of Rust, but also one of its producers. While filming in New Mexico this month, cast and crew members shared scenes from the set on social media. And Thursday morning, just hours before the accident, Baldwin posting this photo with the caption, "Back to in person at the office."
And again, after that Brandon Lee incident, these productions have been really strict. First of all,
okay, guys. So we get the gist of what's going on. Now, the big redeeming question that has been getting asked here is one of the questions on my actual list. What is a prop gun? Now, I went and did some research on this, and it is very ambiguous. I'll give you an explanation. A prop gun can be real or fake. However, there is procedures in place before it is allowed onto a set. And if it is a real weapon, okay, again, there is control measures that are added. But a prop that can fire a blank is considered a real gun, a real weapon, as opposed to a dummy weapon, a prop, dummy bullets, etc., which are not considered real. Now, how did this all happen? And who is the primary individual to blame? And that's what it comes down to, because let's cover it. We've got basically four people we need to talk about here. One of them is Alec Baldwin, the producer, the OIC of practice. When you join the Army, you'll have an OIC of practice. No matter what happens, if something goes wrong, he is primarily held responsible because it happened under his watch. He's a producer. Underneath him is the director, and that is Joel Souza. So Joel Souza also has partial blame. There is a hierarchy of responsibility within this. Okay, I would imagine someone that didn't have any responsibility in this is actually Halyna Hutchins.
Yes, exactly. It's
None of it is hers. She is just the victim.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a lot of blame that should be falling, however, on, what's her name? Mrs. Reed, Hannah Gutierrez Reed. Now, her father is a famous armourer. I don't like the term armourer. An armourer normally is someone who fixes or modifies weapons. Yep. Okay? This makes it a little bit confusing. Is it the on-site weapon expert whose job is to decontaminate the work area, the set, to make sure this is the list like a doctor's, a surgeon's implements that checks them off one by one? There is meant to be 3 pistols. There is a shotgun. There is a rifle. This is their serial numbers. I have cleared all of them. Everyone, make this quite clear. No one has brought a personal weapon. There is no ammunition. I inspect all the ammo before it goes into the weapons. I am telling the producer as he asked me from here, are we clear to go on? Yes, we are. Come and collect your weapons. Now, there would be an unload load bay, okay, especially if there is real weapons required and ammunition going in, where people can actually check that weapon individually based on their skill set to be able to do so within the confines of safety precautions. She is responsible for the tiers of check and balances with these systems. Now, if she does not have the balls to be able to stand up to a cowboy, don't mind the pun, movie's called Rust. If she doesn't have the cojones to be able to stand up to Alec Baldwin, who is a broken arrow the best of times, who probably was, do you know who I am? then maybe she shouldn't be there. Her father is famous for his ability and his clean record of incidents that have happened on his watch. Now, guys, you've got to stay with me. These are all alleged situations based on the known truths or versions of the onion that have been presented. So this is all accusations. There's a lot of grey matter and a lot of weird shit. And Lauren, you were the one that told me too, not trying to implicate you, that when the incident occurred, they let people go home. What the fuck?
What I'd heard that they did not investigate straight away, that they just let people leave the set. They didn't take everyone in and it wasn't investigated properly. So there's a lot of people who are questioning how the investigation went. There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of grey areas in this, and it's a big onion, and every day there's more and more layers.
Yep. And as the Duke says there, a projectile, needs a firing pin. Now, the difference between, like, for example, for the weapons experts that are in the military, that are in the chat, is we have a BFA, a blank firing attachment, that fixes to the end of the barrel that stops most debris from coming out. And the other reason is it allows the gas to then go down the gas port, recock the weapon, so you can continue firing, as it pushes the bolt backwards again to recycle another round and fire it. Now, these weapons, normally the sound is actually done in post-production, a lot of it, not actually on the set as you see it, special effects.
Yeah, exactly.
But a blank can still hurt you. We've had the actor that pretended to commit self-harm and put it to his head, pulled the trigger, didn't realise that without a BFA, without an attachment on there, debris does come out. It doesn't have more than a couple of metres of danger at all, but, and he put it to his temple, pulled the trigger, and now he's a ghost. There's a lot of bullshit happens in Hollywood, and you're never going to necessarily hear the truth, because I think there's also a cloak of silence that happens there. The truth is not going to come out of this, which is why I ask, who is Halyna Hutchins? Because there might be more to this.
Yep.
By all accounts, people had walked off the set. They weren't happy with the OH&S of what was occurring.
Absolutely. And there was 2 instances on the same set where stunt doubles had accidentally fired 2 rounds after being told by that girl that it was cold.
Yep. Cold gun, meaning it cannot fire.
Yep.
Okay. Hot gun, meaning it can. All right. This is a weird thing. There'd been 3 NDs. That's a negligent discharge.
Yep.
All right. It is rare as hell that you have any. You've heard me say before that soldiers should not carry pistols, and I totally agree with that. If you are special forces and you're getting dropped in to do a direct action in an urban environment where the fight is close and you are going to be in teams of 2 or 4 going into targets, then you need a secondary firearm in case the first one jams, counterterrorism sort of shit. Okay, drop that, go to your secondary, and then continue the fight. But you don't need that as standard infantry. The pistol does more damage to the carrier than what it'll ever do to the enemy, and that's a fact. J-A-C-K, Jack. Seen it. Every operation I've gone on, the most dangerous weapon, most dangerous things, 1 is pistols, 2 is helicopters. They're the big killers.
Yep.
Right. So it should be impossible, this situation to occur. This is not a freak accident. This is compounding negligence. What is negligence? Negligence is driving with your kids with no seatbelt on. You driving with no seatbelt on. Negligence is doing backyard tattooing.
Yep.
Negligence is doing driving.
And not following procedures.
Yeah, that's it.
For safety, yep.
There are so many things and checks and balances that need to be done that made this situation actually impossible. And apparently the word on the street is that Alec Baldwin's double had already done an ND, so had someone else, negligent discharge, and this was actually the second time, without a pencil or a pen, he drew the weapon and negligently discharged the weapon. And it went through the chest of Halyna Hutchins and then through the clavicle, of Joel Souza, the director. So this was an actual live round. Otherwise, it would not have penetrated through and through and then into the second individual.
That's right, yeah.
So we're talking about a real bullet, which makes me ask again, who is Halyna Hutchins? Did Alec Baldwin? No. I think this is a real reaction. If this was what he's doing but the second after he shot this young woman, I'd be asking, could those hands be better off doing first aid? Because you're supposed to do that until the choppers get there.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't normally vomit an hour after.
Yeah.
Jay, take care and safe. Mr. P's going to bed earlier and earlier.
Yeah. Oh, it's 7:30. It's his bedtime. He might be watching Vera or something.
Yeah.
You know, tucks himself in, has his medicine.
Dave D, going to mount a pistol to a chopper. It'll be the most dangerous weapon ever. You know what? I'm about to blow your socks off. If you're still here, Mr. P, Turkey Fish, how you going, my mate? He wants to be a driver. He's going to be a driver. And we're going to introduce you very soon to the Rocky 8-week challenge that is coming up. That's right, Turkey Fish. I just took it out to 8 weeks instead of 6. Guys and gals, when I woke up this morning and I wanted to feel good, not just because my daughter was finally going back to school after 5 months of homeschooling, and I put on YouTube while I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, having to be out of bed before 12 o'clock, I came across this. This is crazy. If you look at the positivities that are going to happen in the next few years, not the negativities, there's some amazing shit going down. And this is about as good as it gets. I saw this only 3 years ago when it was clunky, dangerous, scared the shit out of me. But this, amazing. Ready? Yes, please, Mr. Music.
Go for it.
Check this out. What's happening, Kaz? You're about to see. Meet George Jetson. His boy, Elroy. Ladies out there, did you know men can actually be turned on by cartoons? We're a weird creature.
I like Jude Jensen too.
Look at this. That wasn't Alec Baldwin with a GoPro on his head. Check this out. Yep, this is not a Star Wars movie, team. This is real. $92,000 US. They've sold out of all of them but 3.
Amazing.
Yep. That's real, dudes. No pilot license required. Do you know what is dodgy about these, but?
What's that?
You've got to put it together yourself.
Oh, okay, that's dodgy.
If you've seen me with furniture, holy shit, they're saying, oh, it's similar to IKEA. That's where it comes from. I'm like, dude, I'm not going up in the air or letting my kid in something I'll put together. Like if you do, team, bringing your Hollywood without the prop guns. It was a bloody good shot, but by Alex Baldwin. I thought his best movie was Captain America. What do you reckon, team? Would you want to be inside this? Tell me what you reckon. What do you reckon this could be fantastic for? I'll imagine this with a facial recognition cameras. It just goes down, goes, and all of a sudden red faces start appearing. Yeah, it is awesome there, Ollie. Yes, I need one. Me too, mate. You can use it with the cows. They do. No, this wouldn't be a UAV. That means unmanned aerial vehicle. There's actual humans. But the modern woman couldn't get one of these because it only holds a weight of 95 kilos. And that is not the time that you want to get insulted and push it. TLC ends up smacking into a mountain. Then they chose to fight gravity. Her name was Aaliyah too, the one that got killed.
Yeah, it's a tragic tale.
Yeah.
He's attached to...
That dude. Look at him. Do you know what I'd do if I was this guy? I'd chase magpies.
You'd start swooping them, would you?
Yeah. See how they like it, this guy.
Yeah.
Guys, this is your world. 3 years ago, he looked like a drunk person carrying wine on a tray. Now they've got this, and they've got people creating this sort of shit in the backyard. Insane.
It's crazy.
Arju, no more cutting trees down for roads in the future. No. Mm-hmm. They're trying to take over the world, those damn pesky trees. Portable Apaches.
Amazing.
Keep it green, just throw rocks from them. Yeah. Hoodle diddle, it's man, so I'd say it wouldn't count as a UAV. See, there you go. We both looking through the same lens there, my friend. Don't go easy on Dave D. He's a military officer, you know, poor bastard.
Oh, come on.
I chase crows and foxes, says Daz. You've been chasing crows for years, mate, but they still swipe left. So, there is similarities, righto, with what your career is going to be about. And what we should also talk about is NDs and the importance of them. It doesn't matter, and Nicole King will be able to tell you this, it doesn't matter if you're a truckie, it doesn't matter if you're from Ramey, it doesn't matter if you're from infantry, artillery, or engineers, or an officer, or an NCO. If you ever do an ND, a negligent discharge, which is different to a UD, which is an unauthorized discharge where you're in control of the weapon but weren't meant to shoot. If you do a negligent discharge, you will do permanent damage to your reputation amongst everyone that you work with, because your actions speak beyond your words and have just said, I cannot be trusted around firearms. And when you do B and C class ranges and you have people behind you, okay, in adverse conditions, who are under heavy fatigue, yeah, and without sleep, with live rounds by night, no one wants to work with you. I wouldn't know what that feels like, because 24 years I never did one. But people do, and you remember when they do. Everyone remembers when they do. You know, I've done range shoots for nearly 4,000 soldiers when the 2nd Battalion group was getting ready to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, and East Timor at the same time. You know, and there was companies going to different locations, and I had to take all corps, people that were Army Reserve, you know, male, female, etc. And I had to do a rolling practice to zero their weapons. And the amount of close calls we had where people turned around with a magazine on the weapon because they did the bare minimum within their service requirement. But someone from transport is as dangerous as someone from SAS if their weapon is facing inwards and their finger strays where it's not meant to go. Yeah. It's, yeah. So this is a very close point to what we talk about, the fact that this was actually classed as an ND when Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger on a weapon that was not meant to have bullets.
Yep.
That ultimately ended up hitting who is Halyna Hutchins. It's a crazy one.
It is.
Huddle doodle. Kaz, would letters of recommendation help you for a U session? No, mate. Or would they look at me like I'm stupid? Yeah, they would. Yeah. I have a mate who was a sergeant in the US Army who said he'd gladly write one for me. Honestly, mate, someone from the US Army has completely different SOPs, TTPs. Their army is completely different. It would look like you're after special favour. It'd look like the Hollywood parents that try to pay for their kid to get into university. Don't try that one.
Yep.
You know, because we always vouch for our friends, which is the reason why relatives normally can't give evidence on relatives. Hey, Zane. Billy, Zane. Sniper 2.
Yep. Sanage, because you're worth it.
Because you're worth it.
Brady's here.
I just pictured someone just rubbing pastrami on their back. Sanage.
Oh, my God.
I really feel sorry for this woman.
Yeah, same. I feel sorry for her lad and her husband.
Yeah, and for anyone that would have seen the footage today, it was the most reluctant, one-sided hug that happened today when Alec Baldwin went to hug her husband. You can tell he's still going through the processing. How am I supposed to act at the moment? And when you call something an accident, that goes out the door when there has been a culture of incompetence, of what do we say?
Set to say that.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's not an accident anymore. It was inevitability because procedures were not adhered to. There's a difference between OH&S where people go, oh, that's gay, that's just shit, and someone going, dude, you do that because if you don't,
exactly.
This is the workers said they wanted this. This is the reason we had unions in the first place.
Exactly. Look, in the tattoo shop, if we didn't have procedures that were implemented, there'd be a lot more sick people and a lot more sick tattoo artists out there.
That's it. Look, yeah. Imagine that. Oh, does anyone like my Halloween-themed tattoo that's bubbling?
Yeah, and my hip to go with it. You know, I mean, it'd be awful. It'd be terrible. So, it's just got to be done in any workplace. And, you can complain about it all you like. There's a difference between, like, really woke HR and actual OH&S that is designed to manage the risks associated with whatever the industry is.
Johnny is over in the West at the moment.
He is. He's always in the West.
As long as you're not in Dusk, the movie, Rust, the movie. Nicole King, RG, it's basic maths and English. Yep. Look, the U session is all about an IQ test. IQ tests were originally created by military in the US to be able to see people's ability to meet the requirements for leadership, okay, or to be the ground soldier, or not able to commit at all, okay? And if you do a test 100 times, you will fall around the same area. You can't really get better at them. It doesn't matter how many ones you do are different. You will fall around the same sort of range as where you are. And it's designed to see what your problem-solving capability is. Unfortunately, some people come down there, but doesn't match up with necessarily their effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Derek Van Shake do a body language thing on that hug.
He's amazing. He's one of my favourite channels. He really is.
Hello, shakers.
Hello, shakers.
Yeah.
Body language.
Rural Hunter said he's only just joined. Can anyone give him a brief description on what we've been talking about?
Okay, mate. Basically what happened is a couple of days ago, Alec Baldwin, the producer of a movie, underneath him, the director, being Joel Souza, they were carrying out a low-budget film, right, that was called Rust. It was a Western. And what occurred was there was a beautiful 42-year-old mother who was the cinematographer. Where is she? Bam, that is her. Her name is Halyna Hutchins. She was shot by Alec Baldwin, the same guy from Cat in the Hat. And the bullet went, which was not meant to have a bullet in it. It's not meant to be a real gun.
Exactly.
It was done by an ND, negligent discharge, by one of the world's most famous actors, if not biggest critics of common sense, including his own brothers. And the bullet travelled through her chest, out the back, and then through the director's clavicle. They were both leaning over the cameraman, and they were practicing angles, lighting, etc. for Alec Baldwin to set something up. So when the second time he did it, he pulled the trigger. If you're not going to pull a trigger, your finger's supposed to be outside the trigger at all times with weapons. That's just the way it is. But he didn't. He done an ND, and it was a real bullet, and it went through her. She's dead. The director is injured. There'd been people walk off the set only days earlier saying, this is loose as hell. This is sketchy. And then there was an armourer whose name was Miss Hannah Gutierrez Reed.
Yeah, I believe this is the second major production, and the first one, she'd said, I didn't think I was ready for the job.
She said she felt uncomfortable around blanks.
Yeah.
If you feel uncomfortable around blanks, you are no weapon expert.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I were talking before about the procedures that they've got in place, and I've subsequently learned that the armourer is usually one of the only other people who has the ability to call cut on a scene if an actor isn't doing what they are meant to be doing. So it's still that, she's got to be responsible in some way. Yep. And in my opinion, the assistant director, that's strange also.
Yeah. Her job is to sanitize that area to make sure nothing comes in that is an OH&S error. From there, she would do some form of, what would we call it? Some sort of, I know the military do it too, some sort of declaration that I have brought no weapon in. You've got to remember, we're talking about the US here. This is not Australia. This is a place where people can legally carry firearms. And they're also talking about unique characters that have fans, have enemies. You know, they are on a target list for freaks. So it's quite normal for these people to have permits for carry. The thing is, Alec Baldwin is a known anti-gun lobbyist slash activist.
Exactly.
Yet the one thing he has to his notch that the people he hates don't have is actually a body count.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't looked at it that way, but that's true. And, you know, a lot of people in chat have been saying something that I brought up with you earlier was, should he not have just checked? As, like Dave even said, if someone handed him a weapon, he would be, even if they said it wasn't, he would be checking it.
Yeah, and I would too, as a weapon expert. But if I was given a table with the weapons and I know which one is mine, I know which one's going in my holster, but I also know that every chamber is filled with a dummy round, you know, when I clear it, what am I clearing it for? Am I clearing it to say it's safe? Am I clearing it to say the ammunition within the weapon is safe? Am I clearing it to say these are all blanks?
Yeah.
Etc.
What they're saying is that there was, for the actual shot they were after, he was just meant to point it at the camera and it shouldn't have had anything in it.
Yeah. Well, of course it shouldn't have had anything in it.
Yeah.
So there is so many what ifs and how did it happen? And I forgot to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
It is alleged that in between acts, one of the reasons why people left the actual scene is because there'd been people, the Alpha crew, I would dare say, in between takes, were letting off steam and shooting live rounds out into the desert and stuffing around.
Yeah, that's true. You're like being cowboys in more ways than one.
Yeah. My uncle was killed by an ND.
Yeah.
You know, not a UD, an ND, negligent discharge, and he was shot by a 303. You know, that went through his clavicle, but then other one, and it splintered and then went through his heart and killed him. His name was Stuart, and the ring that he used to carry around, I have just here.
Oh, what a tragedy.
Here it is here. This was carried by Stuart, my uncle I never met, and he was killed as a young man. And they reckon that he was the coolest of the group. Shot and killed by his friend, and then from there, like Final Destination, those friends were cursed. Yeah. Only a year later, they were driving. They'd never got over the fact they were there when they killed Stuart. Okay, and they went around a corner. One of them was sleeping in the back of the vehicle. The door opened. He flung out, broke his neck, killed.
Gosh.
2 in 2 years. The third one, become an alcoholic, stuffed in the head, PTSD, never recovered.
Yeah.
All of that from one ND, pointed in one direction. Now, in the military, you can't get this wrong, because when you have these situations, we've got a cast of less than 60 people, where probably less than 5 of them actually touch weapons throughout this movie.
Yeah.
When Australia goes to a combat zone and you've got thousands of people with weapons, assault weapons, where a round can fire flat trajectory nearly for 300 meters, then you are now dealing with mathematical equations. When you get to a certain amount, there is going to be a lapse in concentration. There is going to be an error, a hunting accident. It's going to happen. It does happen, but it is very, very rare because the procedures are so strict with buddy systems, okay, with checks and balances. We even have to fill up our own magazines.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that that's really important for you guys, because that's your job. Like next month, Alec Baldwin's going to be pretending he's a brain surgeon with a scalpel in his hand, you know. So I think it's important to note that the importance of professionals like you who have that safety built into them like a drill, of having the right people in the right job when it comes to dangerous things. I think that's really what's been highlighted by all this.
Yep. Hey, Max, how you going? Real guns belong on set, incompetence doesn't. With the military, you'll find too, the biggest danger is ego, you know, and people that still see a weapon as a toy. So especially when you go to combat corps, what we'll do is we'll make you carry your weapon everywhere. You'll get so sick of it, you won't believe this. It becomes a tool. It's the same way a hunter looks at his rifle. He doesn't look at it as something cool to carry around, to have photos with. It becomes just a tool. That's why they only need to go out with 4 or 5 rounds when they're hunters. Go out there, get the job done, come back. We carry 210 per rifleman. That's a lot. But you're not going to do 210 NDs. Dave D, a question for the film industry. Does an actor require specific training and certification before using prop weapons? Now, that would come down to, are the prop weapons real weapons that are props that will never have a magazine containing rounds on them, or are they an imitation weapon? And every one of them is going to be under the jurisdiction of the armourer / weapon expert advisor.
Exactly. And look, the Actors Guild and that do have actual legislations for this. They have actual OH&S. They have actual gateways that need to be gone through with weapons handling on sets. And they have to do these things. But on this film set, there was several of those gateways that were just ignored. And it was, even though ultimately it's the armourer, there was more than one person who dropped the ball here.
Yep, there was. And that's why I say this can't be looked at as an accident.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's negligence at the very least.
You know, it's like, especially this generation now, people look at negligence as an excuse, and you go, no, drink driving is negligence. You don't know what's going to happen. You do it enough times, something bad's going to happen.
You took the risk. Yeah, exactly.
People that leave their child in a car, when you punch someone, when you sleep with someone with no condom, despite the fact that sucks, literally. Yeah. There's no...
You're taking a risk that is a well-known risk.
And the more times you take it, you can be in trouble. Hey, Jonathan Weston, how you going? I know what you're doing. Jonathan Weston is here because it's Rust. Nutsu Cow. I get it. We're covering a Western. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing we try to translate to people as they watch these things, and press like if you can, team, as this lovely lady films me, is you've got to learn from the mistakes of others. All of Hollywood has now relearnt the importance of the position of the weapon expert on set. You know, this has now made so many people go, holy shit, that's why we do that.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll all be jiggled up into actually using those things that are meant to have been implemented to stop this happening.
Yep, we've got a dead Australian soldiers from doing live fire activities in Australia where stuff goes wrong.
Yep.
And I know one of the shooters that did it and how it's affected him.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't his fault. It wasn't.
No, exactly.
Okay, triangulation might have been wrong. Safety supervisor, wrong spot.
Might be wrong.
You know, we walk into a scenario and we carry out, and our mindset is that there is safety parameters that are put around you to keep the scenario as realistic as possible.
Yep, exactly.
So that you don't actually realise that you are being choose your own adventure, but the entire time the walls are moving around you that you don't realise are being controlled to keep the realism there. You know.
Yep.
You got to remember, Hollywood's an illusion. We need it to look and feel real.
That's right. But, you know, we have a lot of ways to do that, and they have their ways to do it.
They do. Hey, Westy, one of our Patreon members there, did you hear that we're actually now going to unofficially sponsor Daz's Farm down in South Australia, the land of the single mums? It's pretty exciting stuff, but calves are a lot more expensive than they used to be. We're going to be doing a marathon stream soon. I'm going to be naming some of the cows, after some of our Patreon members, some of our actual members here. So that's going to be an exciting time to know that you're actual going to be assisting with the bovines handle. Yeah, join Patreon if you want to be part of this phone for one-on-one conversations. I'm looking at starting up a crypto club soon, which will be a hobby with the expectation I'll lose every cent, but I'm going to stick within the top 10, and then from there, see how much laughing we can do as someone hits the jackpot on Shiba Inu or whatever it is, or Dogecoin, etc.
Yeah.
You've got to have interest, team. You have to have them.
Yeah, indeed.
Jesse Marks. I don't know what was going on there. He retracted both of his messages.
Jesse Marks is famous for writing stuff and then getting rid of it, then reconsidering it. We never have to moderate him. He moderates himself.
Schizophrenia. I don't agree with me. Nicole King. David, was that in the back of the vehicle? If so, I know the guy, and it was his best mate that died. The two that I'm talking about were on live fire activities with safety supervisors. So it happens.
It does happen.
Daz. Kaz, mate, thought I was sponsoring a sex change surgery so you could finally have a penis. I've got one, mate. You just can't see it. It's cammed up and it's on me forehead. Nothing wrong with being a dickhead. I remember when working out in my calves took 2 months. Now it takes 4 months. Lloydie. Calves are for recon. Rural Hunter, do you think that ego would have a play in the incident? Yeah, I do.
We both agree with that. We both agree with that.
I spoke with Lauren. You've got someone like Alex Baldwin who would consider himself holier than thou. He's the producer and the number one actor. So he's put himself in this position. I am sure he walks around and expects the ocean to part. I am sure that he has fistful of triangle sandwiches, stays in the Monterey area while the rest of his crew members had to drive 50 miles each day to where they were staying at a budget hotel, which is not a goddamn big deal. And I'd say to someone, you're only here for less than a month. If you don't like it, eat some of the trail grit, get a stretcher, suck it up, and you're going to look more the part with some trail dust on your frickin' face.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm not an Alec Baldwin fan. Anyone who can say that sort of stuff to their 11-year-old daughter sort of says an awful lot about his personality.
I didn't know about that, and that was disgusting. Apparently, yeah. Alec, we've got another Alec here. Alec Johnson, come to save Alec Baldwin, leaving us 343 for Kapooka in February on Valentine's Day. Now,
how exciting!
Fantastic, and there's probably a lot of ladies that you like that don't like you that are thinking that's the best present you could have given me.
Yeah. Or there's some lovely lady going, no.
Yeah, remember, Valentine's Day is not about your own missus. It's meant to be about someone you've got a crush on, you actually love, that you can't have. I gave a beautiful woman a bag of flour once. So when everyone else's flowers are dead, mine is sitting in her pantry, and she always knew. That came from Kaz.
Oh, it's funny.
I was fit enough I could stalk forever. Max Rodriguez. I imagine that the poor armourer was worried about ruining a scene and losing her job for trying to police Alec. Max, that is exactly what I believe happened, and that is incompetence.
Like you said before, if she didn't have the cojones to stand up to these arrogant bastards, she shouldn't have been in that position.
There's only two people, I reckon, you look at straight away and go, I'd never work for him. One is Alec Baldwin, and the other one, who I used to love as an actor, loved him, and that's Ben Affleck.
Oh, really? Did you like him?
I used to think he was great because he was really, really good mates with...
Yeah, I like Matt Damon.
Well, Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
Likes Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I liked him. Yeah, I liked him.
Jess Marks has an interesting conversation, there. And there's some of the points that I suggested too. He failed to point it in a safe direction. He didn't check it was clear. He had to cock the hammer to rotate the cylinder and pull the trigger. So they're all interesting.
It is, but none of that even matters. This still could not happen unless a live round was actually on that set. None of that there matters.
Yeah.
Should have he done it? Should he done it? No.
All important gateways. Yes, it should have never had anything in, but that's why they have those other gateways of safety, so that if one goes wrong, it's like every safety thing that's been put in place has just been ignored. She'll be right.
What happened to Alec Baldwin's eToro ads? I bet eToro would be changing their spokesman.
Wow.
He'd be a good sniper now. One shot, one kill, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Where it's weird, and this is where I conflicted with Lauren before this stream. When you go in the military, we will train you to aim at each other. You will aim at the center of the scene mass. It makes me really bad at computer games because I automatically aim for the guts of the person, and they take 20 rounds to die instead of aiming for the head. To me, it's a foreign concept. You hit whether you've got the maximum probability of hitting a target in a vital area, which again has to change as well now that we are going to be up against foes wearing US body armor. But we'll never be against them.
Yeah, but there's been two experts who are Hollywood firearms experts have come out and said that the buck actually needs to stop with Alec Baldwin because they have these things put in place which are called dummy points where actors are meant to aim at. And if he had been aiming at the dummy point, it wouldn't have happened.
I just think
one
that
of those safety checks.
I think there is no way only one person rolls for this. It has to be the armourer. It has to be definitely Alec Baldwin.
And the assistant director, because he was the one who had the tray of weapons and it was his job to check them. And he actually did and said, yeah, they're fine.
And he's the one that says, let's go. We're ready to roll.
Exactly.
Now, this might not have even been a scene as such. This might have been just a setup, where everyone else knocked off, having a drink, and Alex, they're just going, we're going to shoot this in 5 minutes. We just need to see what the lighting is from here. Face this way, draw your weapon. Okay, like it. Do it again. Bang. Oh, I'm a ghost. Because remember, it was also negligent discharge. He actually screwed up on top of all this. At the same time, there was a round, which again brings me back to, and it always does, who is Halyna Hutchins?
Yeah.
We're never going to know the answer to this, and there's going to be a lot of
There is already a lot of, being Ukrainian, there is already a lot of, her father was in the Soviet military. There's already an awful lot of conspiracies jumping around about it.
It's a catastrophe. And what about the punishment? We spoke about this one before. What an honour to work with the USMC. It was an honour to work with them, and they probably thought it was an honour to work with us as well. Well, they said it was. Their platoon commanders couldn't work out why Australians were so good. What was I going to say? So we've determined that the director, Souza, is in the shit, as a broad balance. We all know that Alec Baldwin is going to be in the shit as the overall producer, shooter, personality, and probably belligerent on the set. And the armourer definitely has to get burnt as well. And I know this is not a popular thing, but I believe that she had a job on this set because they wanted a quota of leftist females that were on there. So if they get a film tick in the box, it looks good that they have the demographics on the ground to say this was the team that achieved the goal. I don't like the fact that people are calling her her ability into check gun. She'd only done one movie. You're going, if she's a qualified weapon expert, that's it. It's good enough.
Yeah, once you can do the job, you can do the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, your ex-partner, JP.
Yep.
Sniper.
Yep.
Lowest rank that you can get. But his job is to say to an officer, no.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not my job. I will not be able to do that. The commanding officer, the lieutenant colonel of a battalion, owns the asset, which is snipers, surveillance, reconnaissance, and support weapons. So he can say, sir, if you do not like it, then you can talk to the CO because I'm giving you, I've been given to you as a gift on loan. You need to use me properly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what she said.
They are. And that's exactly right. So it could even be argued that even if he wasn't pointing at the dummy point, it's the armourer's fault because that's why they have the ability to shout cut.
The second they find a round on that set, it should be, bam, movie is closed down. There is now an investigation into how this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you something. I don't know if you know this, Lauren, and I don't know if a lot of you guys know this. If you were on a brigade activity with more than 5,000 soldiers, millions of dollars, or even talisman saber, and a live round is found on a soldier, then bam, that entire billion-dollar exercise will be called off, halted, until an investigation occurs before they can move on with practice. And that can mean every single weapon has to now be checked. Every bit of ammunition needs to be taken out and then rechecked. And then once all of that is done, there'd be an investigation, potentially into criminality. Has someone deliberately done this? And what's the batch number of the round? And then that will be backdated to where it came from until they find out what shoot this was.
Yep.
It's that serious.
Carl P's here.
Carl P. He's Special K. He gets shit done. Yeah. It's good to have you here, Carl. Let's have a talk soon. I miss you, bro. And do you notice I almost never call someone bro? That's deliberate.
Yeah, that's right. It's earned.
I bet Alec Baldwin will get off scot-free. Now, this is what brings me to, Webby. This is what it brings me to. How much is Alec Baldwin worth? When I consider charging someone in the army, I go, what is going to hurt them most? Do they have a family? If they have a family and they have children, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to charge them financially. I'm not going to punish his children. I'm not going to punish his wife and create administrational drama for him. I'm going to take time off him. However, if he is single and he's got money flowing through his fingers, Robbie Williams, living life, fast lane. Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to take money off him because that takes away his ability. Or what I'll do is you can say to someone, so you never have to charge anyone. You could say at the start of the year when there's no gun smoke coming off anyone, no one's made a mistake. Yeah. You can say, I'm telling you now, when everyone comes back to work on the 15th, 16th or 17th of January, that's when we come back to mandatory lessons. I'm looking for three people between now and the 25th of April. And whoever it is that screws up, you're going to be working on Anzac Day, the most prestigious day of the year for soldiers. So when they actually get told, you stuffed up, guess when you're working, mate? They can't cry, they can't whinge, because they always knew that was looming over their head. And then after Anzac Day, then you're going to find a different day you can take off them.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your wedding day off you. Excellent, he said. Anyway.
Yeah, there is a window for him to face consequences even as the producer.
The best thing he could do, Lauren, is do jail time. And it doesn't matter how long, for him to lose his gold watch, to lose the fine foods.
They're saying in New Mexico, the defense of someone handing him the gun wouldn't fly. It's the same as the drink driving because it was incumbent upon him, since he was the one handling it, to make sure that there was no rounds. So, and that's under New Mexico law where it was, and they're saying that it's, and apart from that, there's also the litigation afterwards, the personal litigation. So
that could be more than the budget of that movie is worth. He will never escape this. We think he'll get off free. It'll be in his head. Okay, he'll always wonder, what do people think of me? He'd be doing that now, collateral damage. That's why he's hugging the husband of Halyna Hutchins.
Yeah.
Because he realises, your shit suddenly stinks. But this is where we're going to see some weird Hollywood elitism come in.
Exactly. Unharmed Salad has a good comment. I wouldn't read it out if I was you, but there's an interesting rabbit hole down that direction.
Wow.
There's an interesting rabbit hole down that direction.
Is that true, bro?
Yep, and that's where the connection with her husband and the law firm he works for and a certain campaign all comes into play.
Wow.
It's interesting.
The Hollywood elite have got to be very, very careful that they don't weigh in on this. They need to go, Alex, you're by yourself, mate.
Done. Yep, exactly.
Yep. Simon Powell.
Think of Team America. Hi, Simon.
America. Yeah.
Exactly, and the Hollywood Actors Guild.
Simon, are you up on what's been going on with Alec Baldwin? He's been trying to ring you.
Oh, come on.
Oh, dude.
It's interesting, and it's going to be interesting what happens in the next week or so.
Yeah, I'm going to put this in the background because we've got a Raffy here. Simon Powell, this one's for you. And guess what? You don't need to be a pilot. But in actual fact, you are a pilot if you're in one. Check this out, my man.
Oh,
This is called Meet George Jetson.
I think they're amazing.
His boy, Elroy. Question, Kaz, once enlisted, how does Anzac Day go? Do you have to march with your unit? That'll depend on unit to unit, mate. There'll be a cataflak party requirement. You'll be able to volunteer from that if you're an Army Reservist, I'm sure. Check this out, Carl. Sounds like an electric razor. Looks like Thunderdome. Amazing. All but sold out for 2022, and there's 3 left for 2023. There's about 3 or 4 companies where none of this is getting floated. It's covered by massive industries, and I believe this is going to be snaggled up very, very quickly by the military complex. This is a $1 trillion industry, this sort of area. Tell you what I could have done with some of those blades. Today I was making chocolate mousse. I didn't know how long it took to turn green. Fluffy enough to make mousse, so I went premature like usual. Now I've got a chocolate mess. Yeah. Elvis, g'day everyone. G'day mate, how you going? I'm not going to be on here too much longer, so I just wanted to give you something a little bit new. Everyone's watching what's going on with this. And using ignorance is no excuse. Negligence doesn't change the fact that there is a child, teenager, growing up without their mother for the rest of their life. Yep. Not only is this a life-size drone, John, it's actually a human inside it. You've got to be under 95 kilos. Don't need pilot's license, and when you buy it, it's $92,000 US, which means any decent YouTuber could afford it. Okay. Sorry? Yeah. Well, it also comes with LiDAR, which means it has crash avoidance. It also has controlled descent if the batteries start to run out, etc.
The music is louder than the voices.
Oh, is it?
Everything we just said, they didn't hear. We could say whatever we want about them.
Just something I put together earlier. One of these. This was my project. Sorry there, Wasp. I didn't realise, mate. It's hard for me to get headphones that cover these scallops.
Yeah, we were talking about you guys.
Eldest, I'm a tad down today. My application has been stopped due to medically unfit, but I can try again next year. So I'll keep training until then. Eldest, what do you mean? Do you mean that you're not physically fit enough? Because that normally happens in the PFA stage, not the assessment. Is it something medical? What's going down, mate? Let us know. QR code. He says, best of luck in your preparation for next year, mate. Apparently, there's some people at the School of Infantry right now that are saying that it's scary the amount of people that are turning up thinking that the PFA is the standard, so that's the standard they meet, and then turn up and realise, I'm not fit enough when they get to the School of Infantry.
They should have been here. They should have heard you giving people the good oil.
It is no joke. The School of Infantry fitness, gets harder and harder and harder as you have little acts of God where you have pains, aches, ailments that you don't want to go to the doctor about, because if they overrule you and tell you you are going to take 48 hours out of what you're doing, you're going to get back squatted. If you get back squatted, you're going to go back to every week that sucked before the one you're in.
Yeah.
B-stubs, appeal it. You've got to actually ask yourself, is it worth appealing? Because an appeal has to have brand new medical evidence that wasn't presented on the day you were rejected.
And let's be honest, that sometimes recruiting is in the right to reject you. We have to accept that. There may be something that you, as much as you wish it wasn't a problem, it might be for your own good. And also, they need an asset. They don't owe you a job. They need a working asset. So, like Nicole King, perfect example, should really have never been allowed to, and she says this herself, been allowed to enlist. But she did, and now she's damaged from it. And the ADF lost an asset.
Do you know how you could make our army better instantly?
How?
Is by doing player's player. They decide one person from every organisation gets kicked out. Every platoon, probably. One person who is, like when you watch SAS Australia, who is the person that is least capable, they're gone.
Yep.
There's always one person, one barnacle in every call sign.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was that guy. Yep. I got the yellow envelope, where I got told, Kaz, you're not going to take the hint. Your body is saying no to what we're asking it to do, but you're never going to leave because this is who you are. Yeah, so we're going to take that out of your hands. So sometimes when you come in, you go, Kaz, medically, why won't they let me in with depression? I'm going, because they kicked me out with depression, bro.
It's true. It's a risk to you. It's a risk to them as an employer. They're going to be liable for it. If you go in and you're a risk to that, you're actually going to end up costing the Australian taxpayer an awful lot.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot, and it's a risk to you. You don't want to end up like that.
You don't, and you've got to. And I understand. I think to myself sometimes, when I talk to people, I go, man, I'm seeing people that are meeting rejection before their career began, and this is all they ever wanted to do, and it breaks my heart. But then I get very scared after it when I think to myself, what would have happened if I hadn't have got accepted? What happens if I hadn't have succeeded in infantry? What if I'd only been in for 4 years? Where would I be now?
Yeah, you've got to have a plan B. I think you're the sort of person that you would have made good no matter what you did, because you've got an attitude that you would have done very well no matter what you set your mind to.
I would have been the best can collector, I'll tell you.
If that was what you were doing, indeed.
Just getting less fit. Okay. Tassie. My young bloke says there are blokes that have been back squatted for months and just getting less fit every day. But Tassie, I will tell you something, mate, and thank you for that. That's on them, because you know what? You can train. If someone's getting less fit, that's them. Because when you get to School of Infantry, it came from the PDIs. They wanted us to tell them, when you're not doing these sessions, get in that plank position, do those push-ups, do laps in the afternoon. Don't do anything that's going to compromise you for tomorrow's PT session. But if you were struggling with PT and you look and sound like Augustus Gloop, and then you choose pizza, cigarettes, and ice cream, okay, when you know that at the moment you're coming last, I'm going to have absolutely no problem with calling someone out when I'm about to go on a live fire activity where the fittest person is in front of the least fittest person, live rounds at night. the person most likely going to make a mistake is the danger man. The danger man, from a safety supervisor's point of view, remembering that I'm a senior range officer, you know, that is the danger person. That is who you put the safety supervisor behind, because he's the one that has the most tunnel vision, lack of fitness, heaviest beating heart, highest pulse rate, and wandering finger, who now dexterity is disappearing. And in front of him are the people that did their job. Now this guy is behind them, and failure can be permanent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Senior range instructor is what I am. Okay. And that's for B and C class rangers as well. You know, when you get in the military and you are a non-combat soldier, you will only ever do like A class static ranges, okay, and some controlled B class ranges like scout lanes, etc., to your reaction to a contact, which is a moving practice. You know. Simon Powell, hey, I don't do cigarettes. I thought you used to smoke. I do pizza very well, thank you. You need to cut that out.
Yep.
You need to cut it out. You know, I used to have to cut out single mums. I was getting too close to the flame.
It's a good idea too, unless you're ready for that.
Dream time. Just watched a chopper heading to the local RAF base. Got to love the military choppers. A lot of chopper exercises where I live in New South Wales. Mate, when you're in, one of the reasons why I say go to Townsville is because it's a garrison town.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You'll be at a restaurant having dinner with someone else's wife while the chopper goes over, and is that him?
Sounds of freedom.
You know, at the lights with armoured vehicles beside you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it's not much fun when you're behind like a truck full of soldiers. When
Bullshit.
You're like,
girls love it.
No, when you've got your kids in the car.
Look at that truck full of the pirates. Why is Mum giggling?
That doesn't stop.
That is, you'd love that, Jay, Dave D. When you're in Townsville and you're covered in dirt, filth, you know, sometimes a bit of blood, mud, and you're coming back into base and you can see some beta male who's sitting beside a girl in a car, and she's got that big smile, and she's sort of giving him the finger going, why can't you be like that? It's great. But then they notice that we're looking straight past her at KFC like, no, I'd rather have that.
They look at her like she's KFC.
She hears us say nice legs, but we're actually meaning the KFC bucket. Do you remember
Oh, Dave.
Kaz the Icarus. There you go. Yep. Got too close to the sun. I flew too high, my friend.
Yeah.
RAF don't have any choppers. No, they're military. Rotary wing. Dave Penson, FAB, Fab, Omo, old man out. Yeah.
I had that in my window.
Carl, did you know that was going to be the name of my tour company? Before I got told I was getting see you later from the army, I was going to call my company Casanova Tours and Shuttles.
That'd be great.
That's what it was going to be. The whole point about that was going to be, and this is for someone if you want a plan B, all you need, this is two of my business ideas. One of them from a tour industry perspective, which is hard during these times. I was only 19, is imagine getting onto a vehicle where you've got the bus, the high ace or whatever. The people turn up, you scan, you look at them. You know what they want, what they really, really want. You know what they want.
Yeah.
And you let them know. Once you diddy mow the village, as Dave Penson would say, before he has another grandkid. Okay, stop the vehicle, stop it. And they go, what's going on? Go, what do you really want? You know, I can take you from here 6 hours in any direction you want. Okay, all I'm asking is that you don't piss in the vehicle, that you give me enough time to pull over, that you're only allowed to flirt with people on your side of the bus that are outside the vehicle, And no, none of you women are allowed to flirt with me, Kaz Anova. You don't have it. You haven't got it. Don't try. What do you reckon's going to happen when they go to the first club, the first winery, and they've rejected everyone that's in there, and they come back and so tell me, why can't I come after you?
Oh, was that a ploy? Was that you?
Yeah, that's bait. That's bait on the hook. Bait on the hook.
Very clever.
But could you imagine dropping off 9 or 10 guys from that high ace and saying to them, okay, guys, you're here for another hour. Don't get kicked out. I'm going to get you some cheeseburgers. Don't buy the food here. It's bloody expensive. And then you come back with 40 cheeseburgers. They'd be going, you're a legend.
You know, you could do that in your van. You could have Casanova tours.
For one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one was going to be, the other one I wanted to do a series of coffee vans.
Which I think is a good idea.
Fantastic. It's the biggest industry.
Yeah.
Dreamtime. They've been flying around Richmond and Glenbrook, New South Wales. Took a photo of the last military chopper they flew over as was low as, and the angle they hit as they went over. I gave them the thumbs up and a wave. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing better than being hanging out of a chopper. You know, when you trust the pilot over a foreign country, that's the only bit of aircon you're ever going to get. But I tell you what, you're not going to enjoy being in a chopper, with your team in winter. That is cold as a wife's touch when you've been caught cheating.
Oh, that's cold.
I wouldn't know. Kaz driving a Holden Nova. Not pissing on transport, on a transport, very ordinary. Yeah, that's true, but sometimes desperation kicks in. So what do you reckon's happening with Alec Baldwin at the moment? There's no way they can't charge him.
You'd think there'd be no way under New Mexico law, involuntary manslaughter. Like they're saying it's doing a lawfully dangerous act in a negligent way. And
when there's people that have walked off the set that needed that job, that this was their step up to the next role, but they still said, not on my watch, man.
Yeah, red flags.
There's going to be so many statements that are written. This guy has nowhere to hide, and no one wants to die on the hill for him.
I have a prediction. I think he's going to try and spin it into an anti-gun thing. That's my prediction. I said it here first. I think he's going to try and spin it into an anti-gun thing.
That'd be really low class, especially when he did this, as part of stuffing around as the assumptions go.
Or to try and gain political points from it. It would be a bad look.
Carl P, going up in a chopper is not as hard as it sounds, especially if you were in Townsville, because Five Aviation still have to do their mandatory flights. They still have to, at times, fly with cargo, human characters, packs on board. When the helos turn up, you hand them the piece of paper. There's 2 of them that has the manifest of the people that are on that chopper. You hand that to them. Another one is back with the sergeant or someone else in case it goes down. From there, the section commander or the commander of that organisation tactically will move in and get a headset on so they can talk to the pilots and also to the loadmasters that will sit on either side of the vehicle, normally 2, sometimes just 1. From there, what happens is your team will come in and sit in the chopper, and the determination, is it combat load, etc. Are doors open or aren't they? And that was more the Black Hawk. NRH 90, not so much.
Yeah.
But it is a terrific thing to say part of your job is getting infilled, exfilled by rotary wing aircraft. It's a good thing.
I agree with you, Jay. Let's hope his mental health is okay regardless of the outcome, because I'm sure Donald Trump would be wishing him the same, even though he wouldn't give it to him.
And that's what the channels are saying, that he is so cruel to other people and absolutely does not pull up before he hits the mountain when it's someone else that's stuffed up.
Oh, we won't do that to him. We hope you're okay, Alec.
Hey, there's Wardy. Did 3 chopper jobs in Timor. It's a good role, and it's a beautiful country for that free air conditioning. Beautiful.
Good night, Zane.
Billy Zane. Tom Berenger, sniper. They didn't get along, but they got the job done. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Not really.
Sniper.
Really?
It was filmed in Australia, in North Queensland, Innisfail.
Really? Didn't know that.
Yep. Billy Zane. Then he went down on the Titanic, remember? But he survived.
Billy McConaughey has said, do you get to go in a heli in Singleton?
No.
Or not till after employment training? I imagine there's some people who never get to go in one. Is that right?
There is a lot of people that will never get into a helo. You won't do it in Singleton, but if you go to Townsville, that will become part of your infill, exfil, especially if you go to the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment.
Yeah,
You know,
it was rehearsal, Jess Marks. There was apparently no filming of it.
okay. There's a Vulcan here.
Yeah, Vulcan Tech, in fact.
I believe that any form of gun should be checked for ammunition before. Yeah, there would have had to have been
It was meant to be
a quarantine of the weapons, the ammunition, the inspection, the signing off. All of this occurs. A declaration.
Yeah, there was meant to be at least 3 people checking, so there's at least 3 people who've dropped the ball there.
When you go to a range, for example, in the military, before you leave, because we know the less time you've done in the military, the more chance that your sticky little convict fingers are going to try and take something. You know, so before you come off that range, you always have to give the declaration, I have no ammunition or live rounds in my possession, sir. Where they will say to you after that, okay, check your pockets. And then they'll let you know if after this or it is an offence both civil and military to remove live ammunition or range produce from a field firing range, this being such a range. If you have any now or on your possession, declare it now and nothing further will be said. Check your and then inspect weapons. You know, check your pouches. And then they'll tell you after that, at a later date, if you are found with ammunition or range produce in your possession, or you find it yourself, hand it to a nearest NCO and nothing further will be said. However, on a later inspection, if it is found, you know, by us, it is a civil as well as military offence, and you will be prosecuted. And you will be prosecuted. So just be aware, you know, there is no escape. There is no acceptance of negligence. There is no acceptance of accidents. There is no, oh, but I didn't mean it. You will pay. Check your boots. Yeah, Ryan Ward. Wardy. Are we talking about Wardy of colour? Aboriginal Wardy? One of the people, very, very quiet, very handsome, very fast running Wardy? Someone I can't say I looked up to because I think we were the same height. If that's you, mate, I hope your family's really well. I really do. I really like you and respect. Jesse Marks, the Titanic, the only thing Billy Zane hasn't gone down on, apologise for the deleted comments, fat fingers and beer goggles.
That's fun. It's your thing, Jess Marks. We appreciate someone who moderates themselves.
I saw something the other day and it was talking about what a sad story and the bitch of the century that old hag was that was the survivor of the Titanic. They go, when you analyse what she did, she actually was with one of the richest men on earth that took her on the Titanic, that was going to marry her, that gave her the jewel of the ocean or whatever it was. You know, one of the most famous, most expensive diamonds in the world or whatever it was. And then she cheats on him with a vagabond, you know, who was almost a stowaway. And then as she got to safety, not appreciating the husband that she was going to have, she laid on a door that was big enough to hold 2 and let the guy drown. You know, and then from there lived the rest of her life with another man that she had children with, while the whole time telling the story that no one wanted to hear about the diamond that was in her pocket the whole time, but never once mentioned the fantastic man that gave her the children and the grandchildren. And all she ever did was think about the guy that died that she'd had a one-night stand with, and then threw the gem into the ocean and then died on his boat to cause another administrational drama. That's as bad as it gets.
Yep.
That hag.
Yep.
White fella Wardy. Wardy.
Yeah.
Let me think.
He obviously knows who you're talking about, though.
The only other wards were the psych wards. I knew them too. I'm surprised Kaz hasn't given him the nickname Skid. I don't think kids get to ride on the ADFS outside of open days. Yeah, no.
They had a ride in a Hercules, and they've said other stuff and that because their dad was in infantry, and I don't think that's how it goes.
Look, they had to be very careful because I was on the patrol. It was actually an administration move where Captain Casey was killed in an APC. And the hatch came over when the second road wheel got sheared off as going through a culvert, and he died on the scene. And ever since then, we had to start wearing helmets. Before that, you didn't have to wear helmets in an APC, and kids used to get in there, go for some crazy left stick, right stick sort of rides. And after that, it became a lot more OH&S centric,
Exactly.
and children weren't allowed to surf the top anymore.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they've not been going for rides with their dads in Hercules and aircraft and things like that. So I would just say I'm calling BS on what you said there. I'm not going to name you, but I'm calling BS.
Joshy Fawns, you'd enjoy this one. When we were in Timor, we used to be able to, because it was so goddamn hot, it was getting up to 65 degrees Celsius in the back of an APC, and armoured crew had to stay inside their vehicle. It was one of the SOPs in case they had to go in a hurry. It didn't make sense to me. You know, there's still force protection. You've got to look after someone's soul. But so what used to happen is you used to be able to sit on the top like it was V-Day after World War II, you know, sitting on the top of the armoured vehicles, getting around while they're driving down a highway, waving to the kids, throw a biscuit you don't want. And the fat section fell off it.
Oh, really?
So what happened, there was a section known as the fat section because everyone in there was basically fat. And they were sitting on the top, and one of the fattest fell, grabbed the shoulder of the guy beside him. As he fell, he pulled him, and then there was a fattalanche, you know, and yeah, crisscross will make you jump. Sup.
Ron Ward said he served with you when Joe McIver was RSM.
Ah, you would have been there, Wardy, when he shaved my head. Unlike now, 5 months without a haircut.
And you enjoy it.
Look, I loved the soldiers that I worked with. I loved them. I always drank in the same place. So if they really had a problem, they knew where to find me too. Free dental. What was I scared of? We're going to get out of here in a second, team. If you were shorter than Radar O'Reilly, you don't get a ride. Sit on my lap. Wasn't a ride. It was a relocation. Moving from Queensland, New South Wales was 36 years ago. So a long time ago. Oh, I don't know what that was about. Okay.
That's when he's saying that him and his family and him got to relocate in a Hercules.
Okay. Well, we did used to have junket flights where if the RAF was moving from point to point, I don't know about non-military members, but I know that it was quite common that you could go, yeah, can I get a free flight?
Yeah, I'm not sure about big babies and that.
Here's one. When we talk about OH&S, this is as crazy as it gets. I saw a video today that really broke my heart. I went through a bit of an emotional time with it, actually. Was a woman that was recounting the Rwandan genocide. And she was 12 years old at the time. I won't go too far into it because it upsets me too. Yeah. But when I was in Rwanda, and you would go to Kigali, not Kigali, that's the capital of Rwanda, but we would go to Kenya, capital of Kenya. Shit, it's amazing.
Really?
Anyway, so we would go to Kenya for our leave, but when you'd go there, you'd get on a Herc. There was no seatbelts. There were civilians. There was open cockpit.
Oh, really?
The pilots are smoking. They're just... They'd say, oh, no smoking while we're taking off, but that was it. There was animals on there. You could just get up, walk around. You could go and hang out in the cockpit. How you going, fellas? Yeah, not bad. You know, people getting up with diamonds on their asses from sitting on milk crates. and you'd land, get off, go and do your shit, get back in. And at the time, we were flying over a place, and it was called Maneater's Pass. And there'd been a train crash there that had derailed. And, man, could you imagine being on a train that's overcrowded, that crashes, rolls, kills people, and then you find out you're at Maneater's Pass? Your morale wouldn't be tip-top.
Yikes.
You're not going to outrun that lion. You just got to hope, that they eat some of the biggest.
As long as you can run fast.
Nairobi, Dave D. Yep. And what's the biggest places in Nairobi? You've got Wimpy's, which is the greasiest drink of fat that you can get on a burger. And there's also the other one, not just Wimpy's. There's Florida 2000, where you will actually have a bar personnel. You'll have your individual security guard that gets your drinks for you.
Yep.
You know.
You highly recommend the club sandwiches.
No, I've still got the scar, and I've still got an itchy spot from the toothpick that I didn't realise was in those as I was being the piano man, but not actually singing about another man's dot, Elton John, Rocket Man. But there's also a place called Carnivores. Now, Carnivores, you go in there, as it suggests, there's no salad, there's no vegetables, and there's no women. The women have to wait next door to be picked up by the men in the eating area. And you can eat zebra, you can eat hartebeest, you can eat alligator, crocodile, you can eat everything.
Did you try it all?
Sorry?
Did you try it all?
Yeah, I did. And the beer was Tusker beer. And I vomited my hole out that night because you're eating all this game meat.
It'd be really rich.
Yeah, it doesn't sit in the soul very well. Emu. Fantastic. Not emu. Ostrich. It was some of the nicest food I've ever had. Zebra was horrible.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd like it. I imagine that would be very gamey.
Ryan Ward has just let everyone know that that I had to get up at the boozer, and I didn't remember this. And Joe McGive made me put on a snorkel and mask because you could talk underwater or something like that. I'd vouch for that. That is true. I am confident.
Yeah. No, that's got to go. Listen, it's better if you don't talk about that sort of stuff. There's a reason why people keep their stuff that happens on deployments and that, even if it was your dad, just keep it to themselves. I don't know if you should be here sort of saying that stuff.
Jay, Roger that, mate. Elton John is one of my favourite singers.
Yeah,
however,
entertainer.
He's crap in live. That's the weird thing about him.
They're just entertainers.
Yeah.
We've got to stop expecting more from them. They're not politicians. They're not counsellors. They are just entertainers.
But the problem with Elton John is he always looks like an old lady. He doesn't look like a man. He just looks like a frumpy old lady.
Yeah.
Josh Fawns, Zebra, did you have that with some flies? No, sir. Hands mum a beer.
Yeah.
And another magazine, lock and load.
And it's not cold.
Guys and gals, I reckon we've almost done this one to death tonight. Thank you very much. I'm sure that everyone's got their understanding on this. The reason why we do this is because some people don't know what to think about certain topics, and this gives you a way of going in there tomorrow and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Rather than just talking about the WNBA.
Yeah.
Now, that's a boring subject.
I appreciate you lending your expertise to this because I know absolutely nothing about firearms whatsoever.
Yeah, they're not toys. They are not toys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you lending your expertise.
And I appreciate you being here.
Oh, no, it's always my pleasure.
You're always a lady to me.
No.
Dave D, watch out for the Queen. She's recently single. And they're trying to cut her booze
off. Yeah, they told her to stop having her evening martini. I say let her have her martini, for heaven's sakes.
Yep, let her have whatever. You know, no one has worked as long as her.
Exactly. No one served like she served. Exactly. Let her have her martini. Good heavens.
Hey, thanks, Oliver Twist. You know, he's saying that he enjoyed the stream tonight. Sometimes I think to myself, is this a subject you want to hear? You know, But you know what? At the same time, we can't continue to do the same thing all the time. And this was a pretty topical subject, which tomorrow you're going to look like the smartest guy in the office when you go in there and go, who do you reckon should fry for this one?
Yeah, exactly. You know, did you know about this or did you know about that? Exactly.
And if I was going to summarise all of this, I would say the people that need to go definitely is Alec Baldwin, not fine. The fine can go to the family of Mrs. Halyna Hutchins, but he has to do some time because it's the last thing he's expecting. He's expecting to get saved by someone. Don't let him get saved. The other one is the armourer. I don't think that she needs to go to jail, but she definitely has to be kicked out of the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's had a very short career anyway. The director, he got shot himself, so maybe that's part of his penalty. We'll see.
The assistant director, I think, also has something to answer for.
Yep. But ultimately, my question is, who is Halyna Hutchins? Because there's something that smells like a fish co-op here.
Good question. That's all you know. You guys go down your own rabbit holes with that.
Yeah, and I think she looks beautiful. You know, you can
absolutely.
tell by this picture that she is a focused. When people talk about a confident woman, I think of her.
Yeah, totally professional.
Yep, she got the respect through actions.
Absolutely, she did. Yep.
Yep, not saying I'm a freaking queen. Everyone would want to be with this girl.
Exactly. I can guarantee she never had a boss bitch bumper sticker.
The only thing I don't agree with her is she wouldn't like Trump.
Yeah, well, that's whatever. You know.
You got to fight over something because making up is all fun.
Exactly. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Good night, all. Take it easy. And remember, negligence doesn't mean innocence.
That's right.
See you later. Jimmy Crack Corn, and I do care. See ya.